I'm Abigail Gardner. I'm with the Value of Water campaign, and we bring together a lot of the leading voices in the water sector, a lot of utility folks and also design, build, and other kinds of water stakeholders that really want to get the message out about how essential water is to everything we do every day, how unfortunately it can often be taken for granted because historically water utilities have done such a good job of delivering water to our homes and businesses for 100 years. A lot of people forget about the millions of people across the country it takes to actually bring water to us every day. So the Value of Water campaign exists to raise awareness about that, make sure we don't take it for granted, and explain some of the challenges to delivering water successfully across the country every day. So we're having a conversation today with leaders from 3 fabulous utilities from across the country. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the infrastructure projects that they're really excited about in their local communities. And we're having this conversation because the week of September 14th to 21st is United for Infrastructure. So United for Infrastructure is a week-long series of educational and advocacy events happening across the country. It's in its 8th year, and because it's 2020, it's a virtual week. We used to do in-person events, and for water utilities, that used to mean tours and open houses and curriculum in classrooms. I know Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District would do like a Sewer U, where they'd bring a couple hundred people together in a auditorium and really go deep on sewers. So this year we have to make all that content virtual. And we're gathered here together in this Zoom room so we can hear from Laura and Caitlin and Terry about projects in their community, and that is A-OK. We're happy to do that virtually instead. So thank you all for joining us. It's going to be a quick conversation, and I hope for the viewers and the watchers around the country, you learn a little bit about water and what water infrastructure investments are doing across the country and why we all need to care about water. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Kirkwood from HRSD, and Laura's going to tell us a little bit more about herself and some of the really cool projects that are happening in Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach.
All right. Thank you, Abby. Again, my name is Laura Kirkwood. I'm a project manager at HRSD. We're the regional wastewater utility in Hampton Roads, Virginia. We do have some really interesting projects that are happening right now that I just wanted to share with you. We're actually constructing a 5.2 million gallon offline storage facility in the city of Virginia Beach's Woodstock Park. And as you all may be aware, one of the challenges in wastewater collection system is rainwater inflow and groundwater infiltration into gravity sewer pipelines through small defects or improper connections in the pipeline. So that increase in the volume of wastewater in HRC's pressurized pipeline when inundated with rainwater and groundwater during inclement weather causes the pipes to become overfilled and pressures can become too high for pumps to continue to move the flow. And as a result, a sanitary sewer overflow can occur. That's something we don't want to see. So the purpose of this offline storage facility is to divert flow away from the pipeline system during high flow periods and to store that water until the flows in the pipeline have receded, and then we will then pump the water back into the sewer system and onto our treatment facility. So it's very similar to, you think of a big event, the parking lot fills up, you have to go to alternate parking. So we have to go to an alternate place to store the wastewater during these large wet weather events. Also, in the next year, we have some other big things happening. We're closing a treatment plant, and we're sending all of the flow from a treatment plant in northern Virginia Beach to southern Virginia Beach. And because of the increases in pressures, along with these wet weather occurrences, we have to have this large storage facility in central Virginia Beach in Woodstock Park. It's within a city park. So the park is on the older side. It definitely needs some enhancements. They were looking to do a new skate park, new park facilities, new restrooms, things of that nature. So it seemed just kind of like the perfect time for us to come together and put some valuable infrastructure in the ground, but also enhance the park. Another thing that I'd like to mention is that I, along with many other people at HRC, had been following Alex Renew's 18 million gallon nutrient management facility project and the integration of the soccer fields on the surface. So we really used that project as a conversation starter with the city of Virginia Beach, and even went to the facility to visit it with project stakeholders, including Parks and Recreation staff, HRSD operations staff, to really showcase what could be possible. And we really, truly hope that our project at Woodstock Park can be used as a success story for other utilities as they negotiate shared spaces with other entities. I'd like to turn it back over to you, Abby.
Great, thank you. And we will be hearing more from Caitlin in a minute about what Alex Renew is up to. But next, I'm going to turn it over to Terry Leeds to tell us a little bit more about what they're doing at KC Water. Specifically, I'd love for him to tell us about their Blue River Biosolids facility, though I know KC Water has a lot going on. So I'll turn it over to you now, Terry.
Thanks, Abby, and thanks for the opportunity to share what's going on in Kansas City. I'm Terry Leeds, the KC Water Director. We're a municipal government department that operates water, wastewater, and stormwater for our 500,000 or so residents and some of the surrounding communities. Also happen to be the current NACWA president, so I want to encourage everyone to look into NACWA if you get in the wastewater business. So our big project that we're really excited about will be the largest single project that we've ever done. It's the thermal hydrolysis process for our Blue River wastewater treatment plant. Kansas City got into the wastewater business in sincere efforts in the 1960s. And we built a plant that has a multiple hearth incinerator. Actually, it has 3 of them. Only one has been in operation up until recently. And so when we were looking ahead at how we could be the best stewards of our environment and serve our customers the best, we undertook a quadruple bottom line evaluation of alternatives. Upgrading the incinerator was going to be costly. And we also have several air emissions challenges with our existing operation. Landfills in the Kansas City area are more and more resistant to taking municipal sludge. And also we wanted to look at what kind of product that we could produce. Alex Renew, I'll refer to them as well. Laura, you set the stage for referring to them, so we're building up Caitlin's talk. But looking at how we can turn some of our waste products into renewable products. So it will produce a Class A beneficial reuse solids. And so our quadruple bottom line, we looked at multiple hearth furnaces, thermal hydrolysis, fluidized bed, and lime stabilization. And out of that analysis, we concluded that for us in Kansas City, a THP project would be the way to go. So we have been working for a couple of years trying to get everything put in order. We did a design build project. We've just selected our builder and we're moving ahead. So what will that do for us? Well, one, it'll get us really into the resource recovery business with biogas, nutrients, Class A solids that we market and provide to our customers and folks in the surrounding areas. We're reducing emissions, taking that off the list of things that we have to worry about keeping in compliance with. And we think it also will step up our ability to hire people that are maybe a little stronger in the technology area and provide some good paying jobs. And the other thing that our benefit our residents or customers will see is reduced odor reduction. Our Blue River plant does have issues from time to time, and the area around there is commonly known as Stinkyville. And so this project will go a long ways to take care of that. So that's kind of an overview of our project. It's about $140 million effort, and we hope to get into construction next year. Abby?
That's great. Thank you so much. I think I have more questions about biosolids, but I know we've really gassed up Caitlin to talk about Alex Renew. So now I'm going to turn it over to her to tell us about some of the interesting things they're doing with their River Renew project, but obviously Alex Renew is always doing interesting things.
Hi, thank you, Abigail, for having me on the panel. Thrilled, obviously, to get the chance to talk a little bit more about the importance of water infrastructure. And Terry and Laura, thanks for giving me the shout outs ahead of me getting the opportunity to speak. So again, I'm Caitlin Fian, and I work for HRSD Renew. We're the wastewater utility in Alexandria, Virginia. We treat about an average of 35 million gallons of wastewater per day for both the city of Alexandria and parts of Fairfax County, Virginia. I am the program manager for a major program that we have underway called River Renew. It's a program that was developed in response to a 2017 Virginia law that mandated the remediation of Alexandria's combined sewer system and put a pretty significant deadline to get that done by July 1st, 2025. Similar to Terry's project, this is the largest project for in the history of Alexandria, so very, very significant for us. The program itself has 4 different projects, the largest of which is a tunnel that will connect our 4 combined sewer outfall structures to the tunnel system below and capture and convey combined sewage down to HRSD Renew for treatment. That project will start in early 2021. And so what we're doing right now is we have 3 other projects underway at our treatment plant. That the tunnel system project, when it starts construction, will take up every single space basically of our very urban and site constrained space. And so we are currently in the process of demolishing our former administrative building to actually clear some space to build one of the shafts necessary for the tunnel system. We are upgrading our access points and security systems to accommodate what we expect to be a pretty significant increase in construction traffic. And then we are increasing our primary pumping capacity to accommodate the additional flows from the tunnel system in the future. And all of these projects will get will be done by April 2021 in order to kick off and start the tunnel system project. Similar to Terry's projects, it's a design build project, and so we're in the process of procuring a design builder, and that contract will start in December. So, like I said, it's a hugely significant infrastructure project here in Alexandria. Estimated capital cost for the overall program is between $500 to $600 million. And the aggressive timeline that the Virginia law put in place is unprecedented for CSO control in the US. So really from the beginning, since 2017, we were working with the city of Alexandria to develop a plan that could respond to the law and get a system in place that met the law's requirements and got it done by July 1st, 2025. We took ownership from the city of Alexandria in 2018, and the driver for that was that the system ultimately connects to the heart of our treatment plant. We're building a new pumping station that's necessary to pump flows from the tunnel system, and that pumping station will be operated and maintained by our staff. So we had to, be a pretty crucial part of designing the system so that we could take it into operation and make sure it performs the way that we need it to. So leading the program was incredibly important to us. Looking more at the big picture of what this program is going to do for the city of Alexandria, it really aligns with our mission of improving waterways. At the completion of the tunnel system, we'll be reducing CSOs from their current average of 60 or 70 per year down to less than 4 per year. And this really equates to about 130 million gallons of combined sewage that will be rerouted and down to our treatment plant instead of being allowed to pollute our waterways here in Alexandria. So really important to us, for sure. I'll pass it back to you, Abby.
Thank you, Caitlin. That is a really massive project on a really aggressive timeline. So good luck as the project manager to making sure all of that is done on time. So for the next round of questions, I wanted to start off with Terry, because I know you just talked about a biosolids facility, which I am interested in and wanted to ask another question about. But I know you're also working on a green infrastructure program to capture runoff from I70. And it seems like, you do a lot at KC Water, whether we're talking about drinking water, wastewater services. It does feel like so many of the utilities we hear from in the Value of Water campaign, they are making these major stormwater investments that, all the projects we hear about that are popping up so frequently, like in the news, it's, lead in drinking water and a lot of drinking water concerns. But from the utilities, it feels like we're really hearing about stormwater and green infrastructure and combined sewer overflow projects. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about what you're working on at I70. And, with your participation in NACWA, you certainly have a view about what's happening across the country. Is it fair to say that stormwater and these combined sewer overflow projects are some of the biggest capital needs across the country, or is it just a coincidence that the three of you today offered up some wet weather projects? I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Promised myself I wouldn't do that today, but so I think green infrastructure is a new tool for our industry, and for cities like Kansas City and Alexandria that has combined sewers, it is a great way to reduce the magnitude of the effort and also provide community benefits. Laura talked about some of those benefits as well. But for Kansas City, we do have a federal consent decree to reduce overflows, similar to Caitlin's order from the state of Virginia. And it requires us to spend right now about $4.5 to $5 billion over 25 years. And when we started developing the plan for Kansas City, our residents and interested people participated with us in developing that plan, and green infrastructure came to the top as a priority for our community. So we were doing 7 to 8 demonstration projects, and the one that you mentioned is an interesting project down in our West Bottoms, one of our older areas of town. We have an elevated highway structure that passes over that area, and we are going to collect rainwater that comes out of their scupper system and collect that into above ground cistern. And I think we have a video we'll show you a little bit more of that in a little bit. And that's something unique to us working with the highway department. DOTs across the country aren't always the best partners. They're pretty proprietary in how they approach things, but MoDOT's been very good to work with us. As long as we don't attach anything, we can collect the water as it comes through the scupper and normally drops on the ground. Put that in a cistern. We'll use that cistern to infiltrate over a period of time into the surrounding ground. So we are very excited about green infrastructure here in Kansas City, and we see that as where you have the space to do that. It is a great tool for our industry. Thanks, Abby.
Yeah, and then if I could ask a follow-up question about the Biosolids facility you mentioned, because I feel like the only other time I've heard a utility talk about the kind of work you just described was DC Water. And I was just curious, again, because you have a good national perspective, are there other utilities that are figuring out how to turn their waste sludge into these solid products you can, sell back to customers or agricultural interests in the area? Or is it KC Water and DC Water like the two in the country that are doing this?
No, we're not the only two. And actually, you may have heard of a product called Milwaukee that the city of Milwaukee produces that's been on the market for a long time, taking a waste product and turning it into something that's beneficial. It just became the right time in Kansas City for us to do that. We've been land applying our solids on some fields that we have and some neighboring fields for some time. It's a Class B product. It has certain restrictions. While this new process will get us to a Class A and open up a lot more areas to market and distribute the material to. And so the community will get a better benefit out of it. And I think there's lots of utilities across the country that are recognize the benefits of doing that. And it's helping us be more sustainable and better citizens for our environment.
Yeah, fascinating. I feel like it's just not a thing that many people in the public are aware of is even an option, or that utilities are pursuing that. Great, thank you. So then I wanted to go back to Caitlin. You mentioned this really aggressive legislation and aggressive schedule that you all are on to reduce these overflows. But I know from some of the work we've done with the Value of Water campaign in the past, when you tell the public, we have to raise your rates to invest in this massive $500 million capital plan, and you're trying to explain to them why you're doing this and the benefit to the community for doing it, telling them we're doing it because, there's legislation that we said we had to do it, is not necessarily the most compelling message. It's like hard for them to get excited about that or really connect the dots. So how are you explaining to the public why this project is necessary and what they're going to get from it? Because it sounds like it's going to be disruptive. I've been to Alexandria, Virginia. I appreciate the point that there's not like a lot of extra green space for you to, you're tearing down a building so you can make the space to do the construction to make this happen. So from a construction disruption standpoint, from a rate increase standpoint, how do you explain the benefits to the community and explain to them why you're doing this and why you think it's important so they don't just fixate on the negatives?
Yeah, great question. You're right. Our construction obviously has to happen in what happens to be the oldest part of the city. That's where our combined sewer system is. It's Old Town Alexandria. That's a historic district that has buildings dating back to the founding of Alexandria, Virginia. A lot of history there, and so we're nestled. Each of our sites are precariously, or not so precariously, nestled in the midst of neighborhoods and commercial districts. Places that people are and will continue to be. So we have to be really thoughtful about messaging how we're going to be in their space and needing to be there for the next 4.5 years. And so I think as a starting point, we as an organization don't kind of focus on seeing this as a mandate. Like I mentioned earlier, that we see this program as part of our mission to creating healthier waterways and improving the Chesapeake Bay. This has been part of our message from before we took on this program, and so it's just a continuing thread along the way. And so even from the beginning of when we started out, we were the Alexandria Wet Weather Program, not a very inspirational program title, but we saw an opportunity to focus our message with our branding. And so creating the River Renew brand was an opportunity to acknowledge that it's easy to get focused on the inconveniences that come with construction of increased construction traffic, noise, just being adjacent to where people live and work. And so we wanted to focus on what was going to come out of this program. So really becoming an offshoot of the Alex Renew brand, a place that we're renewing in Alexandria. We're also renewing the Potomac River, Hoofs Run, Hunting Creek. These are the waterways that are really the drivers for this program. And the benefit of drastically reducing combined sewer overflows to these water bodies is important to us, but it's also important to the future of Alexandria. We sit along a waterfront that is incredibly important to the vitality of our community. And so continuing to focus on improving our water bodies only helps us as a community improve ourselves, and it increases the importance of tourism and access to water bodies that we can continue to use for generations to come. And so when you look at any of the presentations that we make, how we speak about the program and the collateral that we produce, it all carries the importance of what do you as Alexandrians get out of this program at the end of the day? How is the benefit of improving the health of our water bodies is a benefit to you? And so one of the videos that you have and you're going to show at the end of this is a piece of a video that we've shared. It's on our website. It's what we create various videos, especially in the midst of this kind of virtual outreach programming. We need to be creative here, and one of it is acknowledging how we're going to build this infrastructure, what's going to be there, but then what is the benefit to the community?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, Laura, another question for you. So, we've seen from national polling over the last couple of years that there is an increased concern from the public about pollution in the waterways. There's certainly an increased concern with effects of climate change on water, and in some parts of the country that might mean drought, and there's wildfires. In other parts of the country, maybe where you live, there is some rising sea levels, and that I'm sure can have a whole range of effects on communities and the water utilities, right? Seawater flowing into systems where it's not supposed to be, flooding systems can wreak havoc, I'm sure. So I was just curious, from your perspective and what you all hear from your customers and your community, what are people's concerns? Pollution, flooding, rising sea level rise, and how do you explain the infrastructure investments that HRSD is making to tackle those really big picture issues and those sort of long-term issues? I mean, those are things we're talking about that have been decades in the making and are going to plague us for decades going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all those things that you've mentioned are, things that our communities are concerned about. You all know we're a coastal region, so our ratepayers, excuse me, enjoy the benefits of living on or near the Atlantic Ocean. Excuse me, our ratepayers live on or near the Atlantic Ocean, in the Chesapeake Bay and its many tributaries. Many of them enjoy boating, fishing, kayaking, spending time at the beach, and those are all things that I really love to do. So they're certainly concerned with water quality. HRC's executed many projects in recent years, and we have a lot coming up at both our treatment plants and within our collection system to help keep the wastewater essentially in the pipes and to treat it to a very high quality. So just, a lot of the projects that, we've been showcasing lately, some of them, just to highlight some of them, we have some upgrades, that are wrapping up at our Virginia Initiative treatment plant where we're doing nutrient upgrades, and we have some wet weather storage, kind of similar to the project that I'd mentioned before. Obviously the Woodstock Park project, that I just mentioned, it's going to add capacity to the system. So, a place for additional capacity. We have many pipeline and pump station rehabilitation projects going on. So it's not just about capacity. We have a lot of aging infrastructure that we need to address. And we have a lot of new pump station projects. And a lot of pipeline projects, one of them being we have 10,000 linear feet of 42-inch pipeline going through a main thoroughfare to, again, add additional capacity. So, these are a lot of the projects that we have going on, that we are sharing with our community because we are going through, major thoroughfares. We have to explain what these projects are all about. In regards to flooding, our ratepayers are absolutely concerned with that. That topic comes up all the time at public meetings, at city council meetings, town hall meetings. And we have an effort right now where we're looking at all of our facilities and determining their vulnerabilities to flooding and other effects of climate change. The efforts are so important to ensuring that, in the future decades, we're still able to uphold our mission. And this is probably one of the lesser known efforts, but nonetheless, it's very important. But, if we're talking about something that is very public, you're likely aware of HRSD's SWIFT program, where we'll be purifying water that's leaving our plants to drinking water quality and then using that water to recharge the Potomac aquifer. And then through the SWIFT program, we'll be reducing the effluent going into the Elizabeth, James, or York rivers, depending on where the facility is. And we'll be recharging the aquifer, which alleviates the effects of land subsidence due to the overdraw from the Potomac aquifer. So I think this project is an excellent one that highlights how we're tackling coastal issues that you mentioned in a very public way. And we're using this project to educate the community as well on these challenges. We have a research facility where we oftentimes will bring the community in and show them exactly what this program is all about, and the effects on Hampton Roads.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you reminded us of SWIFT. And if people aren't familiar with it and are interested in learning more about that kind of recharge program, definitely look it up, because it is fascinating and like a little intimidating and scary to think about the vast needs that we have. But really glad to hear you all are tackling it. So for our final round of questions, I wanted to loop this all in with the big theme of the week for United for Infrastructure is Rebuild Better. And, they picked that theme this year because I think in the middle of COVID and a pandemic and a massive economic retraction and a lot of really important and deep and painful conversation happening across the country about racial injustice and inequality in different communities, I think there was a feeling that going back to the way things were, like if you could wave a wand and it's February 2020 again, that is not necessarily what we actually want the future to look like. That as we come out of COVID and we think about how to build more equitable communities, and we think about how we're going to recover from this economic retraction, which is affecting government budgets, which is affecting, municipal budgets. It's going to affect utilities. It's going to affect ratepayers and their ability to pay their bills. So we're all going to be in this and feel the repercussions of it for a long time. So I think we wanted to pick Rebuild Better as a theme because I think it gives an opportunity to have a discussion about not just we're going to go back to the way things were, but we want to think about how we would do things better if we can, and that maybe out of, kind of the negative things that are happening right now and the pain and the difficult conversations, that we can find a better path forward. So I wanted for our last questions to tie it into the theme of United for Infrastructure for the year of Rebuild Better and ask you all, if you could rebuild better in your community, what does that mean for you, and what would that look like for you? So first I was going to start with Caitlin and ask her how she would want Alexandria, Virginia to rebuild better.
Great, thank you. I think in a lot of ways we as Alex Renew take the role of being a partner in the community we serve very seriously. So we believe in our mission of serving the community we work with through creating healthier waterways. I think, the project that Laura referred to earlier, a partnership within the city to build infrastructure that ultimately could be used by the community is something that is part of our vision for continuing as an industry to really focus around. We've got definitely challenges that are necessary to focus on for water infrastructure. We need to keep rebuilding our water infrastructure to make it better, but equally, it's part of the task is the invisibility sometimes of that water infrastructure. So even looking at our program right now and how do we make our water, help connect people to our water infrastructure, we've been incorporating the approach of rebuilding better into the management and design of this tunnel system project. So yes, the project is a mandate, but we saw this as an opportunity to build new infrastructure as a way to restore Alexandria's connection to their waterways, especially as we work on improving the waterways' health. So each of the sites that we're constructing new structures to capture combined sewage and connect it to the tunnel system below, these are opportunities to create spaces in our community where residents can access and connect with their waterways. So in one of our sites, we're building a promenade that connects over our new structures and serves as a new public space connecting residents to the Potomac River's waterfront for views and access. We have a stream in Alexandria, Hoofstrand, that's long been neglected and includes concrete lined portions and a lot of overgrowth, and is largely inaccessible to the public. So following construction of our new infrastructure for the tunnel system, we're taking steps to restore the stream and create walkways to make the waterway accessible in a space that our residents can enjoy. And down at our plant where we're building the new pump station, included in the pump station is an urban green roof or urban garden and green roof that will be accessible both for our staff and anyone who's visiting our plant. And the space also offers basically windows into the pump station that offer visitors the ability to understand how this major system is going to get operated. So all of our infrastructure, obviously, for a tunnel system, it's below ground, making it really easy when we're done, we're out of everybody's sight. There's no longer the inconvenience of construction that our residents will begin to forget that it exists. So we saw the opportunity of these spaces to offer us the ability to educate and build an understanding of the importance of infrastructure. So, and really connecting our residents, the people we serve, back to the waterways that we're improving. And I think thinking more about what rebuilding better means, it's part of the struggle or the challenge of our industry is to continue to kind of not only communicate, but help increase the significance and importance and in connection to water and why infrastructure is so important to us.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said. Laura, I was going to toss it to you next. How would you rebuild better?
I think I am going to echo a lot of what Caitlin said, but I think building better means just thinking more long term, and so I go back to the Woodstock Park project that I mentioned previously, our wet weather storage facility. We could have put this storage facility on the backside of the park, because about half the park is wooded. We've got a lot of nice trees, nature trails, and even some areas. But they were away from all of the amenities. We could have put it in that space, but instead, we chose to create a shared space with the city of Virginia Beach and kind of preserve that natural area, which is just so rare in Virginia Beach, and I'm sure in a lot of your locations. And we are going to be operating this facility, in a manner that we're not really going to be impacting the city. And a lot of thought has been put into that design. So the citizens get an improved wastewater collection system with added storage, and then they probably get something they're more interested in, which is a new park with new facilities, in particular, a very nice skate park. And in collaboration with the city, we held multiple public outreach events to communicate the purpose of the project and to get feedback on what the new skate park would look like. And I think that it's very important to do that, to get that good feedback from stakeholders, and that's what I see as rebuilding better is getting that feedback. We want to work with the communities and with our locality partners on these projects so that we're leaving the site in the same or better condition than it was before. We, HRC, know that protecting public health through the collection and treatment of wastewater, we know that that's a valuable service, but at the same time, it's on us to show the community the value and to be mindful of our impact during construction of this and other facilities and after when we're operating the facilities. So again, just thinking long term, so we continue to do these projects and communities and people want to work with us.
Yeah, exactly. And for our last word, we're going to toss it back to Terry to hear how Kansas City would rebuild better.
Well, first, I think it's important for us to look at infrastructure as a whole and the importance of infrastructure to the health and well-being of our cities and our country. Having the emphasis on infrastructure is probably the most important thing that we do as governments, because without infrastructure, life degrades pretty quick. And I think water's been undervalued for a long, long time. And bringing the water conversation into Infrastructure Week, I think is important. As our rates have gone up, our customers have asked questions. So being able to tell a good story about how we are investing their funds is one of the ways that I think that we rebuild better, so people understand why we're doing what we do. I mentioned the green infrastructure. That's a visible project. We say a lot of our infrastructure is invisible. It's below ground. We don't see it. Green infrastructure brings it to the surface. It reminds people of that we're actually doing something there, what that is, and provides opportunity to us. I think that there's a couple other things about how we rebuild. We need to be very strategic and data driven, and it's just not going out and replacing the oldest thing in your infrastructure portfolio. It's investing in things that make the biggest impact for our customers or for the environment. And the last thing I would say, since I have the last word, is appropriate funding. And I think the federal government has taken a huge step back in their funding for environmental projects in the water and wastewater industry. And I think this week that we have in front of us is a good reminder that the federal government needs to be a big partner and look at ways to support our individual community investments as we move forward to serve the citizens and residents and our customers in our communities. So thank you for the opportunity to participate today.
Thank you, and that was very well said. So to wrap it up, I wanted to thank you with my high-tech graphics on behalf of the Value of Water campaign for joining us today. The conversation is happening online at #RebuildBetter. We are at the Value of Water campaign, so if you're on Twitter, please check it out and interact with us there. And now I'm going to try a very technical move. I'm going to share my screen and run a couple videos that were shared with me in advance about some of the projects you've heard about today. So let's see how that goes. All right. I think this first one is from Alexandria Renew.
Like many older cities in the United States, Alexandria must tackle a century-old problem in order to improve the health of the Potomac River and other local waterways. 95% of Alexandria is served by a separate sewer system with two designated pipes, one to capture and transport rainwater and the other to capture and transport sewage. But in historic Old Town, homes and businesses are served by a different kind of sewer system, designed to capture and transport both rainwater and sewage in one pipe. This is called a combined sewer system, and Alexandria's was built in the mid-19th century. On most days, both systems are able to transport sewage from homes and businesses to Alexandria Renew Enterprises, or Alex Renew, where it is treated and cleaned before it's released to the Potomac River. But when it rains, the combined sewer system becomes overwhelmed, meaning millions of gallons of rainwater mixed with sewage, called combined sewage, overflows into local waterways. Currently, these overflows happen at 4 outfalls across Alexandria. Outfall 1 is located at the end of Pendleton Street at Orinoco Bay. Outfall 2 is located at the end of Royal Street at Hunting Creek. Outfalls 3 and 4 are at the intersection of Duke Street and Dangerfield Road. In 2017, the Virginia General Assembly passed a law requiring Alexandria to improve its sewer system by July 1, 2025. The next year, Alex Renew partnered with the City of Alexandria to establish River Renew, the largest infrastructure project in the history of Alexandria. River Renew includes a tunnel system that will connect to the 4 existing outfalls to capture, store, and transport combined sewer flows to Alex Renew for treatment. Construction on the 2-mile-long and over 100-foot-deep waterfront tunnel will begin at Alex Renew, head west under Church Street and Jones Point Park, then turn north under the Potomac River before reaching Outfall 1 at Orinoco Bay. To address Outfalls 3 and 4, an existing pipeline will be replaced with a larger one called the Hoofs Run Interceptor. A separate video will offer an in-depth look into the interceptor. For now, let's take a look inside the waterfront tunnel and how it will be constructed. To construct the waterfront tunnel, 2 large shafts will be dug at Alex Renew. These shafts will provide access for workers and equipment to dig the tunnel. Then, a tunnel boring machine, or TBM, will be lowered into the shafts and assembled underground. As the TBM slowly travels over 100 feet below ground, its cutter head rotates, loosening the ground, while hydraulic jacks push the machine forward. Soil is pulled into the openings of the cutter head and deposited onto a conveyor belt. Then, concrete segments are lifted into position with a vacuum, creating the walls of the tunnel. The TBM then repeats the process, moving forward in approximately 4-foot increments. When construction is complete, structures called diversion facilities will divert flow from the existing outfalls to the waterfront tunnel when it rains. The tunnel will store and transport these captured combined sewer flows to Alex Renew for treatment. A new pumping station will then lift the captured combined sewage from the waterfront tunnel and direct it through Alex Renew's treatment plant. In total, River Renew will reduce sewer overflow events from 70 to less than 4 per year. This will prevent over 130 million gallons of combined sewage from entering Alexandria's waterways each year. That's the equivalent of 1.4 billion cans of soda, 2.6 million bathtubs, or 200 Olympic-sized pools. The River Renew program will result in big benefits for Alexandrians' quality of life, including healthier and more beautiful local waterways, fewer basement backups, a safer environment for wildlife, and new and improved public spaces by the waterfront. To learn more about the River Renew program, visit riverrenew.com.
All right. And then next up we have a video from Kansas City.
A historic area in the West Bottoms is getting some much-needed improvements. Casey Water is nearly complete with the Central Industrial District Improvements and Green Infrastructure Project, or the CID project. Casey Water engineer Terry Goddard is the project manager.
It's a part of the Smart Sewer program where we're basically trying to separate stormwater from the combined system.
The CID Green Infrastructure Project includes 3 areas in the West Bottoms: the Riverview, the Stockyards, and the Warehouse districts. There are new infiltration systems, new drains, permeable paved streets, gravel infiltration trenches, improved bike and nature trails. The purpose of these natural solutions is to collect, treat, and infiltrate stormwater runoff and control overflow. In the Riverview district, from Wyoming to Mulberry Street underneath the I70 viaduct, engineers designed an infiltration system to catch rainwater, as well as an above-ground collection system.
On this side, we'll have scuppers above us that will collect drainage from the I70 deck and empty it into these cisterns. We have 2 cisterns, one at Wyoming and then one at Mulberry Avenue.
The bike trail will have bump outs to go around the cisterns, a rest stop, and bike racks.
We work closely with the Heritage Trail Association to try to inform them what was going to go on and to give them input and let them give input on what they wanted to see down here.
The nearly $10 million project has been in the making since 2016. At the Warehouse and Stockyard districts near I-670 and Liberty Street, Casey Water restored some of the original 100-year-old stones used in the roadway and combined them with the new permeable surface. This area, ideal for festivals and street markets, allows rainwater to soak through the ground. Nearby, an interactive boardwalk will allow the public to view native plants and observe the bioswale collection system.
Sit on the boardwalk and have lunch and just enjoy the view and nature.
Although COVID-19 has interrupted some construction, the CID Green Infrastructure Project is expected to be substantially completed by mid-September of 2020 and final completion by the end of the year of 2020. When complete, this project will help protect the environment by reducing the amount of stormwater entering into our sewer system, which will lessen the frequency of sewer overflows. For Casey Water, I'm Heather Frierson.
And Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach. All right. And with that, I'm going to thank everybody again for joining us and wishing you a great United for Infrastructure.